My wife's lover leaked a video of him and my wife doing things. My revenge started at the trial and ended with a bloody finale. If this story resonates with you, subscribe to the channel and share in the comments which city you're watching from. We'd love to know where our community is growing. I'm 29 years old. I made the biggest mistake of my life by marrying her. She's 29 years old. I really thought I had it all figured out. I thought I had the love of my life and that there was nothing to worry about, but I was very wrong. I couldn't have been more wrong. I try not to get carried away by emotions, but it's very hard. I'm heartbroken. I didn't do anything to deserve this. I'm still trying to figure out how to deal with it because I feel depressed and I don't think there's anything that can make me feel better anytime soon. My wife cheated on me. I wouldn't have found out if it weren't for the fact that the person she slept with is the kind of idiot who posts private videos on the internet. He didn't even bother to hide her face. It's obviously her. We've been married for barely 2 years. How can everything fall apart in such a horrible way when we've just started? 2 years of marriage shouldn't even count. I was her boyfriend for 5 years, so no one can tell me I didn't spend enough time getting to know her. If there was something I overlooked, fine, but I was careful. I was watching out for red flags, and I didn't see any. It really hurts. I found out through a friend. If it weren't for him, I'd still be hugging and kissing the woman who wasted no time in ruining the life we were trying to build together. If we'd been married for 20 years, I might convince myself to understand it, but only 2 years. I wonder what I could have done wrong or what I could have done better, but honestly, I can't think of a single thing. A friend called me on a random day to ask if I was home. We're very close, so it wasn't weird for him to come over, but he told me it was something serious and didn't give me any clues. Naturally, I spent the time before he arrived worrying about him. I assumed it was a problem of his, because there was no way he was bringing me concerning news about my own life. I kept thinking about cancer because it was the worst-case scenario that came to my mind. It seems so absurd now that I know what he wanted to talk about. When he got to my house, he greeted my wife, and we had the typical small talk. Then he said he wanted to show me something in his car, but I knew he just wanted to get me away from her so we could talk about whatever it was. It wasn't the first time he used that tactic. We sat inside his car, and he was so serious that I really thought he was going to tell me he had a terminal illness. He told me the matter had to do with her. As soon as he mentioned her name, my heart started beating fast. I knew it couldn't be anything good. My friend is a good guy. Looking back, I feel sorry for him, because it was obvious how little he wanted to tell me what he'd come for. I was wondering what he was going to say when he started by mentioning that he likes to watch adult videos on Twitter and Telegram. He's a good man, so let's not dwell on that part. Most do it. We just have different sources. It was very hard for him to say the next part, and as much as I was already connecting the dots, it was almost impossible for me to believe the conclusion I'd reached. Unfortunately, it was exactly what I thought. He told me he'd been watching something and that he could have sworn it was my wife in the video. He said he was 90% sure and that he didn't know if it was worth telling me, but that he didn't want to risk staying quiet, especially if it was about her. He said it was an amateur video, nothing professional or with expensive cameras, just a guy lying in his bed recording the woman who was pleasing him. I noticed he didn't want to show me the video, but in the end, I pressured him to do it. I told him I'd be fine. It was her. The video lasted like 2 minutes, but I didn't need to watch more than 5 seconds to be 100% sure. Was it her or the most incredible look-alike in the world? I saw a small mole she has on her upper lip, so I knew it had to be her. I tried to keep my composure in front of my friend, but, man, I don't know how to explain what I felt at that moment. It was as if all the hopes and dreams I'd spent my life building suddenly evaporated. I realized how defenseless I was in all this. I couldn't have stopped her from cheating on me. And I knew that because with all my flaws, I've never done less than give it my all as a husband. I always did my part. I know I'm not perfect, but I never thought I was so flawed as to deserve being cheated on. Never. It was crazy to ask him to send me the video link, but I had to do it. I couldn't watch more than that small snippet while I was next to him, but later that day, I forced myself to watch the whole thing. Anyway, I had to thank him, and I did it from the bottom of my heart. He told me not to do anything crazy, and I'm glad he did. I don't think I'd have done it, but it was comforting to know that someone cared about me at that moment, because you don't realize how quickly your mind can lose its way. He finally left telling me he'd call me later to check on me, and he did. Something I'm very grateful for again. It's funny, I had so many pent-up emotions, but I chose not to confront her right then. I went back to the house as if nothing had happened. It was ridiculous to pretend, but I really think if I confronted her at that moment, I wouldn't have been able to control what I did. My mind wasn't in the right place at all. Writing about this has helped me calm down and channel my emotions in a single direction. I don't know how I'm going to handle confronting her, because the moment I do, everything will instantly become real. I'll be honest, I'm afraid of that. Maybe I'm not macho like many people would want me to be, but I can't help it. I deeply love my wife, and this feels like the worst possible way for things to end. I'd have preferred her to just tell me there was someone else, because now I know there is, and I have to go through the horror of knowing it was recorded. She probably has no idea. At least I'm glad about that, because when she finds out, it's going to destroy her, and I hope it hurts her. I'm going to figure out how to move on with my life, but for now it's hard for me to see the path forward once I get divorced. I know I haven't been married that long, but she's been a part of my life for years. It's going to be very hard to get used to a new life. Anyway, enough complaining on my part. I'll do the best I can to move forward now that I've gotten all this out of my system. Update. There are difficult moments in life where you simply have to close your eyes and push through hard, or you'll never move forward. Divorcing her was one of those moments. I didn't want to do it, not because I still wanted to be with her, but because I just wasn't ready for the change. I knew I had to do it, but I was very afraid of a future where everything was different. I gathered my courage and just jumped in without thinking too much. One day I sat her down and asked if she'd ever cheat on me. She immediately said no, but after saying it, she seemed to stay thinking for a moment. I asked if she was sure, and this time she hesitated before saying no again. I asked her one last time. Instead of answering, she asked me why I kept pressuring her. Is there something you want to say? Maybe you should just say it. I told her I knew she'd cheated on me. She immediately denied it and said that if I was convinced of that, it had to be a huge misunderstanding. She asked me to present my proof because she was sure she could prove me wrong. I assured her that what I knew couldn't be denied, but she really wanted to gaslight me. So I took out my phone and showed her the video. I saw her shocked expression when she saw it and recognized herself, but she didn't say anything. Halfway through the video, she told me that was enough because that wasn't her. She admitted the person in the video looked like her, but insisted it clearly wasn't her. I laughed at that. I'd seen the video probably 5 times just to be sure. I knew it was a stupid excuse she was making up. I pointed out the mole on the person's lip and pointed at the one she had. Stupidly, she kept claiming it wasn't her, and I shook my head. I didn't need her to acknowledge it. She knew the truth, and so did I. Even if she didn't admit it to my face, that didn't change anything. I told her just like that. I didn't need her to confirm it was her, because I already knew. I let her know we were getting divorced. She blew up and repeated over and over that it wasn't her. She told me it was stupid to divorce over someone who wasn't her. I didn't bother answering her. I've always thought the "it isn't what it looks like" angle is one of the dumbest you can take. But at that moment, I realized how much better it is to use that angle instead of continuously denying that you cheated. I left the room because I was very upset. She tried to talk to me several times that day, but I acted like she was invisible. The next day, she was served the divorce papers. I'd already talked to a lawyer even before the confrontation happened. She was very upset, and that was the first point where she seemed to realize that honesty would have been the best policy. Still, she wasn't completely honest. She admitted it was her after so much denial. She claimed he was just a guy she met when she went out with her friends and that he was cool. She said she made the mistake of following him to his house, though according to her story, she didn't plan to do anything with him. I'm not dumb enough to have believed that. She said they were just going to hang out, but that he got very aggressive. She wanted to leave, but he stopped her. So, according to her, she slept with him because it seemed like the lesser risk, but she had no idea he'd recorded her. I let her know I didn't believe her for a second. First, because of how much she denied it was her in the beginning. Second, because as her husband, that's the kind of thing she should have told me. There was no reason to keep something like that to herself. We could have figured out what to do with that guy, and that would have made it easier for me to believe her. That was the story she decided to stick with until the end. I guess because she didn't want to get caught lying again, and because she thought it was the narrative that'd make her look more pitiful. It didn't work on me at all. Before the divorce formally started, she did everything possible to beg me to cancel it. She said it was a single mistake and acknowledged how much she'd messed up, but that despite how bad that made her look, I was still everything to her, and she didn't want to lose the special thing we had. I find it funny that after that someone could think what we had was still special. She ruined what was there. It'd never be again. All her begging became very irritating, so finally I had to tell her not to contact me anymore, at least not until the divorce process started. Of course, she didn't listen, so I ordered her to communicate with me through my lawyer, and then I blocked her. I was the one who moved out of the apartment because she refused to do it. She kept trying to make things work, although it should have been obvious there was nothing left between us anymore. When the divorce started, I hoped she'd be reasonable and we'd agree on a sensible division of our assets. She started as if she was ready to cooperate with me, but suddenly her requests became totally irrational, and we ended up needing a judge to decide everything. The good thing is that worked in my favor. She would have gotten more if she'd simply chosen to act like a normal person. I had the video as evidence to support my infidelity claim. Everyone noticed the resemblance between her and the person in the video, which makes me even angrier thinking she believed I was stupid enough to let myself be fooled. We were married for such a short time that the judge decided to cancel alimony completely, especially because she has a decent job and was at fault for the breakup. I'd moved out of the apartment, so I wasn't surprised she kept it. However, when we divided our savings, I took a bit more money to help me get settled somewhere else. Her lawyer fought and fought for that, and especially for alimony, trying to get her something, although even if they'd given it to her, it wouldn't have lasted long at all. The judge didn't yield, and the joy that gave me was immense. We aren't rich people, so there really wasn't that much money to split. I've always been more financially sensible than her, and I knew it was going to take a toll on her finding herself suddenly living alone in that apartment while her salary remained the same. I think it was a week after the divorce when one of her friends contacted me to tell me she wasn't doing well at all. She said she was having anxiety attacks because she suddenly felt alone and burdened with so many responsibilities. The idea of asking me for help caused her panic, so the friend decided to come talk to me. It was funny because I didn't know what they wanted me to do. The friend claimed she was just calling so I'd check on her, not to help her with her money problems. I hated that even after getting divorced, I was still being dragged into her affairs when she alone had ruined our lives. No one forced her to enter that man's house. She went there knowing what she was going to do, and she was probably more sorry she didn't catch him recording her than she was for actually doing it. That's what I hate about people who cheat. They always think they're smart and they'll never get caught. They've all the time in the world to regret their decisions, but they only bring up regret when the consequences of their actions catch up with them. I didn't bother contacting her. I felt no pity for her or the situation she'd gotten herself into, as horrible as that sounds. Even when her friend contacted me again to tell me it seemed she was considering ending it all, I didn't reach out to her. I can imagine some comments saying I went too far with that, but she's still alive, so I guess I didn't. I hate when people use that as emotional blackmail, and I wasn't going to bend. Eventually, she called me herself because I made the mistake of unblocking her in a moment of weakness. She started with some small talk I didn't care about, and it showed in my voice. After a few minutes of that, she told me she missed me. She said she'd messed up, and she kept sticking to the version that she didn't go to that guy's house with the intention of sleeping with him. She wanted me to know she still loved me, and she'd always be ready to give us another chance. That's great, was my answer, because even days after the divorce I realized I still loved her. But for now, I've been letting all that residual love drain away. I want to get away from the kind of woman who only brings you pain. I know there are good women out there, and I hope to find one of them on my next try. The sad thing is there don't seem to be that many, and that's what really frustrates me. I have to search and go through so many horrible experiences before finding a woman who's a suitable partner. But well, it is what it is. Now I'm a divorced man, and in a few months I'll be mentally healthy enough to go back to the dating world. For now, I'll learn to heal from the damage the previous one caused. I've had my heart broken before, so the only thing needed is time. A lot of time, actually, but I guess I've all the time in the world now. Denial is a very powerful drug. Besides, bonus points for trying to gaslight me while the evidence was literally paused on my phone. The audacity of looking at a mole I've kissed for 5 years and saying it's a coincidence. Lady, please be serious. Update. I thought the drama with my ex would finally stay in the past, but a few days ago, one of her friends reached out to me again, this time visibly terrified. She told me her situation has gone from simple anxiety to pure panic. It turns out she isn't only dealing with financial ruin and loneliness, but with something much more dangerous, the lover's wife. It seems she didn't settle for seeing her humiliated in the legal process. The friend confessed to me that my ex has been receiving direct and constant threats. The woman sent her messages telling her she won't rest until she gets revenge for destroying her marriage and being the cause of everything coming to light. The most terrifying thing is the woman made it clear she already tracked her down. She knows her current address and every move she makes. The friend begged me to intervene, saying she's locked in, not sleeping and fearing for her life every time she hears a noise in the hallway. She looked at me hoping some residual feeling would make me run to protect her. However, I stayed calm. I answered her with total coldness. She chose to enter the life of a married man and play with fire. I'm not her shield anymore. If she feels threatened, let her call the police, because to me, she ceased to exist the day I discovered her betrayal. I closed the door, knowing the world she set on fire herself is now about to consume her completely. The peace I feel in my new life is priceless, and I'm not going to let her fears become my problem again. Final update. The story took a turn that not even the police could anticipate. A couple of days ago, the same friend returned to my house, but this time she didn't come to ask for help. She was in a state of total shock. She told me that worried because my ex wasn't answering calls, she decided to go to the apartment and enter with her copy of the keys. She found her dead in the living room. What the authorities discovered later was chilling. Everything had been a master plan by the lover's wife. It turns out my ex's lover died and didn't die of natural causes. She'd been poisoning him slowly until his heart stopped. Once she was done with him, she went looking for the woman who'd meddled in her marriage to complete her revenge. Next to my ex's body, the woman left a handwritten note with a chilling message. I can't stand cheaters, and the world is better off without people like you. After committing the crime, the widow simply vanished off the map. The police haven't been able to find a single trace of her. It's as if she vanished into thin air after executing her sentence. I stayed silent while listening to the story. It's disturbing to know the woman I shared my life with ended up that way. But at the same time, I can't help thinking how a series of betrayals triggered this tragedy. I closed my door once more, thankful to be far from that web of lies and poison. For some, karma isn't just a lesson, it's a definitive end. What do you think of this dark ending? Do you think the lover's wife planned this from the moment she found out about the betrayal, or was it a final fit of madness?